Namo tassa bhagavatu arhatu samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arhatu samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arhatu samma sambuddhassa. Good evening, everyone, and good morning, everyone. Today, you're joining with another Q&A session. I would say it's going to be Dhamma Q&A session, day 12. In today's discussion, we're going to be discussing about right mindfulness. Right mindfulness kicks in when you've been following the rest of the previous path factors, which means right view, sammā-sati, right intention, sammā-sankappa, right speech, sammā-vāca, right action, sammā-kammanta, right living, sammā-ājīva, right effort, sammā-vāyama. And today, this is going to be the seventh path factor, which we can see in the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, mindfulness is everywhere, but right mindfulness is hardly anywhere, because the Buddha taught us the right mindfulness and not the mindfulness. So sati and sammā-sati. It's a difference between sati and sammā-sati. Sammā-sati is what we all need to practice. Let me read this paragraph to get a sense of what the Buddha meant by sammā-sati. Khatama chauso sammā-sati. Idhavuso bhikkhu kāye kāyanupassī viharati ātāpi sampajāno satimā vinayya loke abhijjā domanassa. Vedanasu vedananupassī viharati ātāpi sampajāno, etc., etc. And then chitte chittanupassī, dhamme dhammanupassī, dhammesu dhammanupassī viharati ātāpi sampajāno satimā vinayya loke abhijjā domanassang ayang uchatavasu sammā-sati. Right mindfulness means the four types of foundations of mindfulness, which means kāyanupassana, establishing mindfulness based on your body; vedananupassana, establishing mindfulness based on your feelings; chittanupassana, establishing mindfulness based on your mind; dhammanupassana, establishing mindfulness based on Dhamma factors, I would say Dhamma properties, or mostly phenomena. Now, let's take a look at what we can discuss about sammā-sati, because we don't need to talk about sati, mindfulness. We supposed to talk about right mindfulness. So, I wanted to share with you at the beginning that what you normally hear out there in society is what you call by the minimalist approach to mindfulness. Now, when you get to hear that mindfulness is something that is so popular across the globe, and you can go to many mindfulness classes and all that. So all these places, most of these places, they teach this minimalist approach to mindfulness. So we can't call it right mindfulness, but it's a basic approach to mindfulness. It's not wrong, but it may not be sammā-sati, because sammā-sati has a wholesome component. Now, if I distinguish this sati and sammā-sati in clear terms, I can share with you a very simple example. Now, in normal mindfulness, secular mindfulness, we know students are asked to practice mere observation about your belly, your breath, so and so forth. But they do not connect that mere observation to a wholesome part, because they do not connect it to a wholesome part for the most part of such secular meditations. But when we talk about right mindfulness, if you take a look at each foundations of mindfulness, kayanupassana, vedananupassana, chittanupassana, and dhammanupassana, you can see at the end of all the what you call anupassanas, these mindfulness categories, you can see how each establishment, anupassana, is connected to the wholesome part. Now, let me sort of read for you that thing, because that is very interesting and very important. Now, if you take a look at the end part of each satipatthana, we can see these explanations. I would categorize them into 9. We call it refrain. So when you know how to practice particular anupassana, then you need to understand the refraining part of each foundation of mindfulness. Kaya, Vedana, Chitta, and Dham. Ajjatanva. We need to practice each satipatthana internally, right? Because we need to practice it internally, looking at our own bodies. Also, we need to practice each satipatthana externally, looking at others' bodies. Because if you practice each satipatthana only internally, then what will happen? There is likely kind of a self-centeredness can arise, because you only look at you. That is why we are asked to practice it by looking at other people also. You're looking at other people's body as well, other people's feelings, other people's minds, be that how they respond, and how other people go through the mental, I would say, Dhamma properties. So we call it Ajjattangva is the first part of how we connect it to wholesome thing. And Bahiddhava is externally, we are connecting each satipatthana to others. And third, Ajjatta Bahiddhava, both internally and externally. Fourth, Samudaya Dhammanupassiva, which means the arising part of the particular establishment of the body. I would say now the breath meditation, it could be posture meditation, it could be so and so forth. So you are looking at how each practice, which you can see inside the satipatthanas, arise. That is, we call by the fourth refraining factor, which we need to understand how we connect it to, when we connect it to the wholesome part. Then the fifth one is Vaya Dhammanupassiva, how the particular exercise for the satipatthana expires, ends. And then Samudaya Vaya Dhammanupassiva, how the particular exercise for the anupassana, satipatthana, arise at the same time, end. Atti Vedanati Panassa Sati Pachupattita Hoti. So then at this point, as a seventh refraining, the connecting factor to the wholesome part, you understand that there is only a particular exercise exists, but nothing else, right? So you are fully present, aware about what's happening with your particular feeling, bodily exercise, mind, and the what you call Dhamma property. And Yavadeva Jnana Mattaya, Patissati Mattaya. So as long as how you develop your knowledge, at the same time your mindfulness. This is the 8th. Anissitocha viharati nacha kinchi loki upadhi. This is the 9th way how you connect it to the wholesome side. You understand how you're supposed to live with the particular exercise. You are not attaching to the sort of exercise. You only take them as tools to get into the mindfulness. You are not attaching to any of the exercises, and you live without attaching to the world. Now, basically, loka in the Dhamma means your, you know, what you call 4 fathom, one fathom body, basically, and perhaps sometimes it is also referred to the external world. So, this particular understanding must be there, because in Buddhism, satipatthanas were given not to practice as exercises to be fully present, but also to connect all the satipatthana exercises to the kusala side. Otherwise, it will also become a part of the secular meditation where people do just to focus themselves. But satipatthanas, now what you see under sammā-sati, you must need to connect it to wholesome aspect. Thereby, you are moving forward to the next level where we're gonna attain sammā-samadhi. We're gonna be talking that in a future discussion. Okay. Let me share with you a couple things before we get into the questions. And I would like to ask you, if you have any questions, please post them in the comment section about sammā-sati, right mindfulness. So I will get into those questions somewhere in the discussion. I will continue with my explanations until I see your questions. Okay. So one of the central tasks of sati, I would say sammā-sati, is to de-automatization of two things: habitual reactions and perceptual evaluation. Now, we all have habitual reactions. We react habitually. We don't take time to respond. This is not a good thing, because in our life, reactions happen when we don't have enough time to ponder about what happened. Let's say somebody was mean to us. Maybe somebody was nice to us. So in those two occasions, if we take time to think about what it was, and then we respond in a proper way. But what happens to many is that they don't take time, so they react. So they have habitual reactions. So it's not good. So one of the key things in terms of the benefits of right mindfulness is to de-automatize the habitual reactions. So if you have a problem with your habitual reactions, so sammā-sati is the treatment. Second is perceptual evaluations. Now, in our life, we always perceive. Not even we perceive, we also process what we perceive, and then what we go into is we may have perceptual evaluation. So we evaluate our perception. So this is also a problem. So on one side, we need to stop our habitual reactions. On the other side, we need to stop the perceptual evaluations. Now, the other thing I want you to think about is that the satipatthana practices, you may have heard all these things, but I don't want to repeat the normal, generic explanations of satipatthana. So, but I want to share with you some of the very key things so that you may have time to think about when things give you a hard time. Now, satipatthana practices, when you want to establish mindfulness based on 4 things, which means the body, feelings, mind, and Dhamma properties. Now, how do we supposed to do? Does it mean that we have to start from Kayanupassana, establishing mindfulness on the body, and then we need to go to the Vedana? No, it doesn't work that way. It might work to some, but the most practical way is to see which satipatthana you can practice. I can practice at different times. Let's say now you are watching this discussion, right? Then It is not just the body that you probably have a lot of emphasis. So you may have Vedana, different Vedana. We're going to be talking different Vedanas, feelings, and you may have different thoughts. At the same time, you might be pondering over the Dhamma properties, right? So then this is an ideal time to think about those satipatthanas whenever you have an opportunity to pay attention to. Whenever an opportunity arises in you, then you can utilize those moments to pay attention to the relevant satipatthana. That is how you're going to do. Okay, so find the opportunity, at the same time utilize opportunities to see what satipatthana is relevant for me to practice. Okay, now there are two satipatthana suttas. Now, Digha Nikaya, the long suttas, I would say, the 22nd sutta is Mahasatipatthana Sutta, which is the longest version of Satipatthana, and then the shorter exposition of the Satipatthana, which we see as the Majjhima Nikaya, 10th, number 10 sutta. So we don't need to worry about these two suttas. Let's talk about the very important facts from the two suttas, and they are pretty much similar, so don't worry about that. Now, this sutta clearly says that sammā-sati, I would say, right mindfulness is the only direct path to the liberation, I would say, Nibbana. Now, you might be wondering, how come is only the right mindfulness leading you to the Nibbana? Actually, right mindfulness is a part of the Noble Eightfold Path. So you can't separate it from the Noble Eightfold Path, because we know in the Noble Eightfold Path, there are three factors. They are called supportive factors. They work for each path factor. They are called as right view, right effort, and right mindfulness. So, right mindfulness is the supervision, I would say supervisor, for practicing all the other path factors. So, what you have to understand here is that it helps you to focus, to stay on the direction. That is why it is the direct path. But the direct path is none other than the Noble Eightfold Path. This is what we understand, which has three elements, aggregates called Sila Samadhi Panya. But as a supervision, I mean, for the sake of supervision, sammā-sati, right mindfulness, plays a bigger role. So there is no harm in saying, under that context, right mindfulness is the direct path. Because a lot of people, they run out of, at all times, is right mindfulness. Because if you don't have right mindfulness, you can't think about other path factors. Okay, so that is something you need to keep in mind. Okay, Satipatthana, foundation of mindfulness. So you can establish your mindfulness on a particular thing. I would rather say that these are 4 opportunities for you to be mindful. If it is body, then Kayanupassana. If it is feeling, then it is Vedananupassana. If it is the mind, then it is Chittanupassana. If it is the Dhamma properties, then it is Dhammanupassana. Now, Dhammanupassana has been very cryptic to many. The reason is people don't understand what is inside Dhammanupassana. Now, Dhammanupassana clearly means the phenomena, right? The phenomena. Now, we know we have been facing a lot of phenomena in our life. We die, we exist for some time, we get sick, and then we get old. So these are phenomena, right? So in order for you to understand these phenomena, you need to understand Dhammic phenomena. What are they? You can see Nivaranas, 5 hindrances. You can see 4 noble truths. You can see 7 bodhicharmas. You can see so on and so forth. So these are Dhammic phenomena that relate to the Dhamma. So you're going to be mindful by looking at the Dhammic nature of the phenomena. Let's say somebody passes away in your life, then you are bringing what you call, pancha nivarana. In that case, you might be worrying a lot. So then you looking at that particular phenomenon through the Dhamma phenomena, right? Because we know that we all may worry, we all may have different, types of remorse. So all this is kind of giving us opportunities to think about the Dhammic nature of what's happening, and then you are putting yourself into mindfulness. It's pretty easy. So then that means using Dhammic phenomena to be mindful. That is what we call by Dhammanupassana. Okay, I don't see any questions so far. So please post your questions so I can get to them in the meantime. Okay. Now, Kayanupassana. It's pretty interesting. Huh? In the Kayanupassana, we can see there are 14 exercises you can practice. But don't think you need to practice all these exercises, because you can't practice all these exercises, especially in particular the last 9, what you call by, carnal contemplation, I would say. That's the proper way to say it. The nine charnel ground contemplation. The 9 charnel ground contemplation. So at that time, there were bodies, dead bodies, just left, cast away on different places, in cemeteries. So people, monks, they went over there and then they kind of contemplated these bodies. You can't do that. You don't need to do that. You have to keep in mind that Kayanupassana does not say that you have to demonize the body. A lot of people think that I hate my body. I don't. The main purpose of me practicing Kayanupassana is I want to demonize my body. This body is a demon. I don't like it. So I want to practice Kaya. No, that's not the plan. The purpose is not to demonize the body. The purpose is to understand your body by using mindfulness. So you are not practicing hatred towards your body. So please keep that in mind. Even you practice the 32, disgusting, I would say, body parts meditation, you are not hating your body. You simply want to understand. Now, for example, if you are someone who has done some anatomical studies, and they also get to learn 32 parts of the body, but they never get demonized. They never demonize the body, right? The same way, you just need to understand, right? So as I told you, there are 14 exercises related to the Kayanupassana. So what I'm suggesting you is that you can practice one of them. Now, the breathing is one of the very interesting exercise for Kayanupassana. Now, why I'm telling you breathing is very important. Now, throughout the Kayanupassana, so the explanations, breathing has been the core of the Kayanupassana practice. Now, why is breathing very important? The reason is, the more you refine your breath, the calmer you are. Now, say for instance, you are very tired, you are very, I would say frustrated, you are very snappy, you are very grumpy. The moment you are grumpy, the moment you are frustrated, the moment you are upset, that's the moment your breaths start to change, right? So that means your emotions and your physical activities have a big connection. So don't think that it is only a emotional suffering, because your emotions all the time, they connect to your physical part. That's why when you are so stressed, your neck area become very stiff, because when you are stressed out, you automatically stiffening your neck. That is what we can see. That is why you go for a massage center, massage parlor, to get a kind of a massage over, like around your neck area, because the moment each time you are stressed out, you are involuntarily, you are stiffening your neck muscles. So in the same way, there is a connection with your emotional suffering and your physical part. So in the same way, your breaths really influence, really impact your bodily actions. So if you can take care of your breaths, in other words, I could say, if you can refine your breath, if you can keep your breaths calm, that means you will be calmer. That is the main reason why this practice called anapanasati, breathing meditation, as an exercise to the kayanupassana, is very wonderful, very interesting. Now, you can also practice the four postures, because we always have a posture, right? When standing, I would say when walking, I have to understand I am walking. When standing, I have to understand I am standing. When sitting, I have to understand I am sitting. When lying down, I have to understand I am lying down. So, this is another exercise you can do, because we never want to pay more attention to our postures. So, in addition to breath meditation, because you can't possibly do the breath meditation all the time, but perhaps you can do, because when you are working with other people, if you are not getting angry, if you get angry, you can feel that breaths giving you a hard time. If you are not angry, you can feel your breaths happen normal, right? So you can do that anytime. But don't think that the breath meditation should be limited to a sitting practice. You can do so, but when it comes to kayanupassana, you can do it at any time, because it's about the breaths. The prime purpose is just to refine your breath, calm your breath. The more you refine your breath, the calmer you are, so that you have a less challenge with your emotions. So you are mindful. And then about the four postures, you can practice mindfulness with your four postures. Whatever the posture you are with, you can contemplate on that particular posture, and you are not attached in the posture, but you just watch your posture. It could be either walking, standing, lying, sitting, or lying down. So you specifically look. So this is another exercise to practice kayanupassana. And then sampajanya. Now sampajanya is an interesting topic. I'm sorry, exercise. Now in sampajanya, we have a couple of terms. People say full awareness. How does someone practice full awareness? When going forward and returning, and then when looking ahead and looking away, when flexing and extending limbs, when wearing dresses and carrying other things. I would say for a monk, carrying, you know, rope and bowl. In your case, when you carry other things, right? When eating, drinking, consuming food, and tasting. When you do other things. When walking, standing, sitting, falling asleep, waking up, talking, and keeping silent. You can act in full awareness when you do all these particular activities. Now, you can't be exempt from four types of postures. You have to be a part of four postures. Now I'm sitting down. You're probably sitting down. Probably you're walking and watching this thing. So you can see that what posture you are in. That is posture meditation. I would say Iriyapata. But when it comes to sampajanya meditation, which is a part of an exercise to kayanupassana, you can look at different activities you are in at the moment. Whether you are eating, so you can look at your particular activity. I would say watch your activity, right? But don't attach to the particular activity. Sometimes you have to work, with couple things, but you are focusing on one thing at one time. So this is the third exercise we can see in the kayanupassana. And then we can see the bodily parts. I don't encourage you to do that at this moment, because I had to be as practical as I can. So I'm just sharing with you what you could do in your daily life. So you could do the breath thing, watching your breaths, and then you could do the four posture meditation. I would say four postures, watching your four postures, and then you could do sampajanya exercise. You are in full awareness when you are with particular activities, whatever the activities. And there is what we call dhatu manasikara elements. I would rather say that it is more about the elements. So let's leave that out too, because and then the 9 charnel ground contemplation. Let's leave that out too. At the moment, what you could practice, because I'm looking at on a practical basis, breath, watching your breaths, because that is one of the key parts of keeping you calm, and then being aware of your postures, what posture you are in, and then the full awareness, sampajanya, so you can be in full awareness when you are doing all your different activities, when you are eating, talking, being silent, doing anything. So these are very practical exercises when it comes to kayanupassana, that is kayanupassana. And then I want to share with you another very interesting thing. Now I told you that not even the mere observation of the particular exercises that you are supposed to do, but also you need to understand how the particular exercises connect to the kusala part. Now, this is what we don't see in the normal secular mindfulness, right? They just observe walking, I would say 4 postures and other particular activities and the breath. But in Buddhist, I would say sammā-sati, right mindfulness, you must connect your exercises to the kusala side. So how you would do that? I explained to you at the beginning. There are a couple ways that you need to do. We call it refrain. You have to look at your breath internally, and you have to look at watch breaths of other people, how do they practice breath. At the same time, the both, also the arising of the breath, also the ending, or I would say perishing the breath. At the same time, the both, also how you practice the particular exercise, with the mindfulness. At the same time, you only practice it to the level of the knowledge. At the same time, you are independent and you are not attaching to any of those exercises. So this is how you need to practice each exercise in the kayanupassana. If you don't practice with these refrains, I would say these 9 refrains, then you are not practicing right mindfulness. Okay. And let's get into the Vedana, depending on the time. We don't have a lot of time, but I would say, let me see. Now, in Vedana, what we can see is you are focusing on different Vedanas. So there are 6 Vedanas. Okay, we call them the pleasant Vedana has 2 parts: worldly pleasant feeling and unworldly pleasant feeling. And Dukkha Vedana, unpleasant feeling, also has 2 sides. I would say worldly unpleasant feeling and unworldly unpleasant feeling. And the neutral feeling, I would say Adukkha Asukha Vedana, also has 2 parts. We call them worldly neutral feeling and unworldly neutral feeling. Now, for example, let's get into Attakatha to get a sense of what it is. Now, we call it Samisa for worldly and Niramisa for unworldly. Now, let's take the Sukha Vedana. So, what is worldly pleasant feeling? Samisa Sukha. Samisa Sukha nama Panchakama Guna Misa Nissita Cha Gehasita Somanasa Vedana. So, this is basically the type of domestic type of sensuous happiness. Now, if you are a layperson and you are happy with your eyes, ears, tongue, nose, body, and the mind. So whatever the pleasures you are acquiring through these five, we call it samisa, sukha vedana, or worldly sukha. What about the unworldly sukha vedana, niramisa sukha? Cha nekkamma sita somanassa vedana. Whatever the feeling you acquire through renunciation. This is what we call nekkam, renunciation. Whatever the feelings you have through nekkam. Even you let go or renounce things, people, you also have a sukha vedana. This is called unworld. In the same way, you have to see the other dukkha vedana also has two parts, and adukka masukha also has two parts. So whenever you having the particular vedanas here, these 6 vedanas feelings, you need to be fully aware. All the time, when they are arisen, when they exist within you, when they go away, you have to be mindfully looking at, watching what they are. At the same time, you need to see the what do you call see the refrain part as well. So you are looking at, you are watching it internally, externally, both internally, externally, watching it from the arising aspect, watching it from the ending aspect, the both arising, ending aspect, so and so forth. You have to connect all those refrain parts to the particular Vedana exercise. Okay. Okay, I think there's a question by somebody. Could you please tell a little bit more about wrong mindfulness? Okay, I'm gonna get it to maybe probably after I'm done with these regular basic things. And the mind. Now, this is a good opportunity. We have now in English we say the mind, but in Pali canon we see there are minds. In Abhidhamma there are minds, but without perplexing you, I would like to share with you what are the types of minds we have, so that we can use them to be mindful. Now there are 16 minds, I would say 16 minds the Satipatthana Suttas talk about. Saraga, okay, Vitaraga, Sadosa, Vitadosa, Samoha, Vitamoha, Sankitta, Vikitta, Mahaggata, Amahaggata, Sauttara, Anuttara, Samahita, Asamahita, Vimutta, Avimutta. Now, Saraga means a mind which has lust. Lust. Now, this is something happens to many people. They are with lust, so their mind is lustful. So that means you have to understand that your mind is lustful, right? The moment you recognize your mind is lustful, then that means you have the chitta-nupassana. And then vitaraga means a mind without lust. Now, this is a mind of an arahant, because we know even anagami person has lust, right? Kamaraga. The sakadagami person also has kamaraga, but kamaraga patika is completely eradicated by the anagami person. But still, the anagami person has likes towards rupa loka, arupa loka, right? So raga is that kind of a very I would say a complex theory, right? Complex emotional thing. So vitaraga means a mind without lust. Sadosa, a mind which is very angry, which has hatred. Vitadosa means a mind which has no anger, no hatred. Samoha means a mind which has delusion. Now we all are deluded, right? Because we haven't crossed the samsara yet. Vitamoha means a mind which has no delusion. This is precisely a mind of the enlightened beings, arahants. Sankitta mind. What is Sankitta mind? Sankitta means contracted mind. Contracted mind is elucidated in the Attakathas. It means, Sankitta mind means, contracted mind means, Tina midda patita mind, which has sloth and dullness of the mind, dullness and heaviness of the mind. So when you have a contracted mind, that means you have both tina and myth, sloth and torpor. Vikitta mind. What is vikitta mind? Distracted mind. How your mind gets distracted? Only when you have uddacha, restless. When your mind is restless, then you have a vikitta mind, distracted mind. Now, when your mind is resting, your mind is peaceful, calm. That's when you can sleep well, you can do things well. Mahaggata mind, exalted mind. What is it? Rupavachara mind. A mind which is, held by the individuals, enlightened beings in the Rupavachara worlds, material worlds, Brahmalokas. Amahaggata mind, unexalted mind. This is the mind of all of us. Kamavachara mind in a nutshell. Sauttara mind, surpass mind, which surpass mind is also the mind of Kamavachara beings like us. Anuttara mind, unsurpassed mind. This is the mind of both Rupavachara and Arupavachara beings' mind, enlightened beings' mind. The beings who were born in the material and immaterial worlds, they have a mind called, by Anuttara or unsurpassed mind. Samahita mind, concentrated mind. What is it? This is the mind of beings who have either Arpana Samadhi or Upachara Samadhi. Now we have these two things. What is Arpana and Upachara? Now Arpana Samadhi or Appana Samadhi means someone who has gained the full concentration. Now when someone keeps practicing jhanas, absorptions, at a certain place, that person attains the full concentration. He does not expire from that. Arpana Samadhi. But Upachara Samadhi means that person only approaches the first jhana level. So, but both the minds of Arpana and Upachara concentration levels are taken as by Samahita mind, concentrated mind. So then you can't say you have a concentrated mind unless you have Rupa Avachara or Arupa Avachara mind. Sorry, Arpana or Upachara mind. And Asamahita, unconcentrated mind, what is it? The mind which has no Arpana Samadhi or Upachara Samadhi. The mind which has no full concentration, the partial concentration which we see by somebody who's attaining the first jhana, Ube Samadhi Virahita. That is the mind that most of us have. 15th one, Vimukta mind, the liberated mind. So this is the mind of people who have Tadanga and Vikambana liberation. So Tadanga means the temporary suspension of the defilements, and Vikambana is kind of a furthering, mind about the defilements. If you have those two types of liberation, so you can say that you have a liberated mind. Avimukta mind means the mind which is not liberated, unliberated, the mind that we all have. So there are 16 minds. So whenever you have the particular mind, then, because you can be an enlightened being anytime, right? You can be an unenlightened being at all times. But let's say if you try your best, you can be an enlightened being. So in that case, you can watch your particular mind and then be mindful. And then you connect each mind to the refrain parts. I have to watch my mind internally, externally, both internally, externally, looking at the origin, looking at the ending of the minds, because these minds are not existing for long. Let's say you meditate, you can keep them, but when you don't meditate, you will expire. So you can see the differences in your minds. So whenever you have the particular minds, you need to watch those minds and be aware. At the same time, connect those minds to the 9 types of refrains. Let me check that again. Yeah, 9 types of refrain. Okay, and then the final Dhammanupassana. Now, Dhammanupassana, we understand Dhammanupassana has a 4 main, actions, roles we have to understand. we could translate them to be mental objects or Dhamma properties. We have anicca-anupassana, experience of the impermanent nature of phenomena, and viraga-anupassana, giving attention to their fading away, the particular phenomenon. Nirodha-anupassana, cessation. Patinissagga-anupassana, letting go. So now, if we can watch the anicca nature of the particular mental Dhamma phenomenon, I would say mental object. At the same time, if we can see the viraga nature, which means the fading away nature of the particular phenomenon, if we can also see the nirodha level, the perspective called cessation aspect, if we can see the letting go perspective, patinissagga-anupassana, then we are so much better with the Dhammanupassana. Now, in contrast to the previous satipatthana, kaya-anupassana, vedana-anupassana, chitta-anupassana, this is very particular because it's particularly concerned with recognizing the conditioned nature of the phenomena under observation. It's kind of watching at the conditioned nature. Now, there are many things that Buddha identified somebody can practice Dhammanupassana. Now, I would share with you most of them. Nivarana pap. So you can use pancha nivarana. Now, this is what we have to understand by viviccheva akusalehi. Now, when someone attains the first jhana, that person has to suspend, has to overcome the 5 nivarana. So that is why 5 nivarana has been taken here. So you can see the 5 nivaranas in the particular mental property phenomenon. Also, kanda, 5 aggregates, and then ayatana, that means 6 bases, bojjhanga, the 7 awakening factors which we have to develop all the time, satya, the 4 noble truths. Now let's take one exercise to practice Dhammanupassana. Now, if we take Nivarana Papa, now see how it goes. Santangva ajjatangva kamachanda. Now, there is sensual desire in me. Whenever you have sensual desire, you need to understand, you watch yourself by thinking, there is sensual desire in me. Asantangva ajjatang kamachanda. Right? That means there is no sensual desire in me at the moment, in the moments where you don't have kamachanda. You have to watch over that you don't have the kamachanda. Anuppannassa kamachandassa uppada tanchapajana. How there comes to be the arising of kamachanda. Whenever you have kamachanda, you're going to look at how they come to be, how it comes to be. Uppannassa kamachandassa pahanang hoti tanchapajanati. Whenever you have kamachanda, is one of the nivaranas, then you also need to understand how I can overcome the particular kamachanda, how it happens. And pahinassa kamachandassa ayating anuppada hoti tanchapajanati. How there comes to be the future arising of unarisen sensual desire. Now, you also need to watch how you can develop your capacity, ability that future kamachandas will not arise in you. So this is how you're going to use nivaranas in Dhammanupassana to understand the mental phenomena, or I would say Dhamma properties. So in the same way, Vyapada, Tina Mitta, Uddhacca Kucca Vicikicca, and so and so forth. There are Kanda Pabba, Ayatana Pabba, Bojjhanga Pabba, such. We can sort of select a couple of them so you will understand how you can practice them at different moments. Because don't wait until you find moments. Find out the moment where you are, and then you can practice many exercises relating to Kaya-anupassana, Vedana-anupassana, Chitta-anupassana, Dhamma-anupassana. All right, so let's get into the questions. Could you please tell a little bit more about wrong mindfulness? Okay, to me, wrong mindfulness is the mindfulness you practice not to end the suffering. Now, a lot of people ask me when I was delivering talks about the Noble Eightfold Path, how is right concentration different from the other concentrations? Now, if you can look at the contents of concentration, it is pretty similar to other people. other ascetic practices. Now, for example, I would say if you see the jhanic practices, first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, the explanations are really same with the jhanic factors. Vitaka, vichara, vidusukha kata. And how a yogi attains, different levels by using the jhanic factors, also the same. But how is that popular samadhi and sammā-samadhi is different is you practice sammā-samadhi with the view to end the suffering. That is why it has become sammā-samadhi. In the same way, these practices, I don't think the breath meditation is a new practice by the Buddha. It was there even before the Buddha. Four postures and these sampajanya and all that, they were there even before the Buddha. But the difference between the Buddha's sammā-sati and those types of sati is that a yogi, a practitioner who wants to practice sammā-sati or sammā-samadhi, whatever, they have an aim to end the suffering. This is the fundamental difference between other paths and the Buddha's path. And these popular factors and the special factors the Buddha talked as adding samma path. So the main idea behind why it is samma, right or correct or wholesome or whatever, right mindfulness or right contemplation means that they were given in a particular in a direct objective of attaining the liberation, nibbana. That is the main thing. That is why after each exercise, Buddha says you have to look at the refrain part. Don't just practice the mere observation of your body, postures, full awareness, or whatever, feelings, or whatever, minds, or the mental phenomena. You must add the wholesome part. That means you have to connect your exercises to the practice of the cultivation. That is what you learn by these words. Let me reiterate one more time. I want to lay emphasis on that. Say, that is so important to understand, actually. Those words. So, ajjattangva bahiddava, ajjatta bahiddava, samudaya dhammanupassiva, vaya dhammanupassiva, samudaya vaya dhammanupassiva, atti vedanati panassa sati pacchupattita hoti, yavadeva jnanamattaya patissati mattaya, anissitocha viharati, nacha kinchi loke upadiyati. These are wholesome parts. That's why a lot of people don't practice mindfulness, the kaya anupassana, vedana anupassana, chitta anupassana, dhamma anupassana with this context, so that they don't practice sammā-sati. They practice just sati, I guess. So this is that's not sammā-sati. Now, looking at arising and passing away aspects, ajjatta bahiddha, the samudaya dhammanupassiva and vaya dhammanupassiva and samudaya vaya dhammanupassiva, arising and passing away. That means the yogin or yogi brings anicca dukkha anatta perspective to the particular activity, exercise. Now, I wonder whether you practice anicca dukkha anatta with the particular anupassanas. Probably not. This is why it is not sammā-sati. And when we talk about anissitocha viharati nachakinchi loke upadiyati part, independent without clinging, avoiding any form of identification. So freedom from identification. So you are practicing the freedom from identification, right? Now, I also want to talk about one last thing before I get to the conclusion. Now, in all the satipatthanas, there is a phrase going with what is it? It goes this way. Atapi sampajano satima vinaya loke abhijja domanassa. So at the end of these each four sections, there is a phrase. which goes this way: just to the extent necessary for the overcoming of covetousness and grief for the world. Now, what is covetousness? It is nothing but lobha. And then what is grief? That is nothing but hatred. So you have to be ardent, atapi, sampajano, you have to be fully aware, not just being aware, fully aware. And then you have to, atapi sampajano, satima means being mindful. And then you have to, this is really interesting because a lot of people, when they practice the four establishments of mindfulness, they never think about the mindfulness practices are already incorporated. A section about removing, I would say, overcoming covetousness. Covetousness means not just the greed, it is kind of a expanded version of the greed. Covetousness and hatred. So if your mindfulness practice does not help you to overcome lobha and dosa, I don't think it will work for you. That's when you haven't understood the expanded elaboration of each satipatthana. So before you jump into the exercise and the bridging part of the kusala, you must understand the purpose of the each satipatthanas. The purpose is to overcome grief and covetousness. We actually say that atapi sampajano satima vinaya loki abhicha domasa. That is the purpose. And then you get into the design exercises, and then you need to connect them into the different refraining aspects. Okay, all right. Any questions so far? I'll give you one more, probably 1 minute before we jump into the transference of merits. Okay, it seems there are no questions, so let's wrap this up. Let's transfer all the good karmas to all the departed relatives who passed up in the name of all of us. Today, let's remember all the people who died from COVID-19. I guess millions of people have been dying even now. So we have to be very kind to these situations, right? Not as being Buddhists, as good humans. Our hearts should melt for these individuals. We have to plead, people, please be safe until this goes away. Manage yourself. This is why we've been doing all these talks and educative talks and all these, so people understand this from an educated perspective, not just from an emotional perspective, right? So let's remember all those beings, folks. At the same time, your beloved people who passed away, in the name of all of you, may they be happy and peaceful. May they partake in these good karmas. May they also attain the nibbana. So let's share all these good. Let's transfer all these good karmas to, people who passed away in the name of all of us. Idam me nyati nang hutu sukita huntu nyatayo. Idam me nyati nang hutu sukita huntu nyatayo. Idam me nyati nang hutu sukita huntu nyatayo. Also, let's share all the good karmas with the devas and nagas. May all the nagas and devas share all these good karmas. May they be happy and peaceful. We all need happiness and peace, even the devas and nagas, right? We don't want to live in a world, a place where there is no happiness, no peace. May they bless all of you for good health, quality life, and all the prosperity, your family members, everyone that you know, you don't know. May they also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ittavatacha ammihi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti sindhya aka sattha chubummattha deva naga mahiddhika Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhang tuluka sasanang chirang rakhang tudesanang chirang rakhang tumang paranti. Finally, let's make a great wish. May all the good karmas we've been doing so far be helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I'm going to bless you with a couple more stanzas. Please receive the blessings. Abhivadana silis nichang vaddhapachayino chattaro dhamma vaddhanti ayuvanno sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sangha sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminate saminchato. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. There is one question that came in here. Probably I will reply to the question as a comment, so don't worry about it. At the same time, I wanted to say that there may be more interviews coming up. Please stay tuned and be safe. Have a good day. At the same time, have a good night for those folks who are watching from North America and Europe. Thank you. Have a good night. Take care.